All right, it's looking like everything's set up for the stream. Um, it's super late, but I'm doing my live stream. So let me introduce the format of this show for people who are like less familiar. Actually, I'll take these off for now. I don't think, and unless we have any guests joining us, we'll see if that happens. If so, I'll pop the headphones back on. So I'm Joshua Kemble. I'm a cartoonist, graphic designer. I've been doing that for over 15 years. I need to kind of stop saying 15 years. It's close to like 20 years that I've been doing that now. So we're heading towards 20 years, which is nuts. Professionally, and I've been a full-time art director for about 8 years now, and at my day job, and kind of like hanging out with my kid or working on art and illustration for clients, I am working on comic books. Comic books like the ones that you'll see in the comments below. And I have two graphic novels, one coming out that are published. One is coming out next month and on the 7th, and that's called Jacob's Apartment. And then the other is which is like Eternal Sunshine in the Spotless Mind or Ghost World. Like if you're into those kind of things, it talks a lot about the interweaving of dreaming and waking lives and the kind of questions that can shake even the strongest of faith. If that's of interest to you, there's a link in the chats, and I'll be playing trailers and stuff like that throughout the stream. um, and then also Two Stories, which is my confessional autobiographical graphic novel about faith and mental illness. And it talks about my journey dealing with depression, caregiving for somebody with panic disorder, as well as the weirdness of kind of growing up attending a Christian school and some of the hypocrisy involved in that, as well as being a nerd, growing up as a geek and doing things like cosplaying as Indiana Jones for an entire year. It's a really fun book. If you're interested in those, you can check those out. But what this stream is when I'm working on graphic novels, I've been doing these live streams and hanging out with other artists. Quite often, I'll have friends over and stuff like that. Gary just said he was just shutting down for the night, but have a productive evening. Thank you, Gary. I will. Yeah, so on these streams I basically work on, right now I'm working on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural case or story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, which is a graphic novel written by my sister Lavender Roman. And it's a historical fiction graphic novel that talks about Elizabeth Barrett Browning and tells a really interesting untold story about her, and also her as the primary character, Robert Browning. These are famous like Victorian poets. So like I do these live streams while I'm working on the pages, and I need to do about 230 pages by next April, which is kind of intimidating. Right now I'm on page 10. So what we're going to do during this stream today is I'll show you guys what I finished for page 9, which was all done off stream. Generally, I try to do these streams about every night, and I've missed a few nights, and it's partially due to like just having really weird working hours where just streaming wasn't going to work when I was working on my comic. And then like also there were a couple days where like there were people over, and so I didn't want like to weird out like our guests and stuff like that. And then also honestly, I got really into watching this is a weird thing. I'm not even like a gambling guy, but I was watching like a bunch of poker YouTube videos while I was working. So anyhow, but back to streaming. So this is my live stream, and I think you guys have seen enough of my face. So let's get into like kind of the meat and potatoes here and get into the work. So this is the page that I finished in the last few days. This is page 9. And so what we had was like this sort of conversation where now we're introduced that Robert has gotten a letter from Elizabeth's dad, who's kind of a tyrant. Um, and and then they're talking about some kind of unspoken plan. So it sounds like Elizabeth's also there's a plan for her to move or something to that extent. But anyhow, this was a complicated page to kind of make work. Um, what I what I did do, I think off stream was like I basically worked on pencils. I color held the fire, much like I tend to do. I did that on our overhead shot a few streams ago. And then basically I worked on the flats. Um, and then I did, I looked at the page. I was like, huh, still feels kind of flat. And it doesn't quite blend with the previous Browning's book. Um, oh, let's see here. Frank was saying I was about to go to bed. Well, Frank, by the way, I'm going to be flat coloring. So if you're going to sleep, that's cool. But if you wanted to hop on and hang out and work, that's welcome too. I can send you a link. Just let me know. But obviously, I don't want to keep you up or like make you work weird hours or something just because I do. Anyhow, so I had looked at this and then I think it was like last night. Before I got into finishing the pencils for page 10. I also did a second pass on this and kind of added like some white tones of light, which is like a little rule I've established on this book to kind of make it pop and stuff like that. So all of that was off stream, but I wanted to make sure that I showed you guys page 9 in case you're following along with the progress. I don't want you to feel like you left out. So, or were left out. Okay, so that's page 9. And now today, I'm going to be coloring this page. So this is page 10. We're working on it. Here we have an exchange between, and it was all based on this rough. Oh my goodness. I thought that was the rough. Where's my thumbnail? It was all based on the rough that we did on stream, which I thought I had on here, but I'm not seeing. So, oh, there it is. There's the rough. So it was all based on that rough that we did on stream a little bit ago. And then I just kind of took it to finish. And again, I was just watching a bunch of live gambling videos, which was strange. It's actually, I can recommend this as just like a little rabbit hole. If you guys are ever looking for like interesting background stuff to have going while you're working on art. I don't know why, but it's been fascinating. I've been watching Hustler Resort and Casino live streams of like high stakes poker games. And I don't know if that's just a little temporary rabbit hole or whatever, but it's been pretty fun to see. Oh, and Frank said he would be sleeping during the stream. So in that case, Frank, get some rest. So anyhow, tonight, what I'm hoping, I shouldn't have closed page 9. Let's get back to page 9. So there's a couple things we have to do with this page. And what I want to accomplish on this stream is like, first off, I need to consolidate, like you're going to see like, oh, by the way, I should probably bring my layers in here so you guys can see them. Not sure how that happens exactly. But my layout's all weird here. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I think you guys will be able to see that. Maybe not. Let's see what's going on here. I'm gonna check out my my window capture just to make sure. There we go. You guys want to see some layers, I would imagine. Okay. So basically the way these streams work is if I'm working on like roughs or thumbnails or something like that, the script that I'm working from is going to be down here. And then to the left is basically the pages and the Photoshop files and stuff that I'm working on. And then equally, let's see here. Okay, that's a little better sized for you guys. Equally, if I'm like working on, sorry, I don't know what happened with the Photoshop stuff going on there. It's craziness, man. Chaos. I don't know if you guys ever have that, but sometimes like when I'm working on my station, like I chaotically moved something that isn't usually where I work, uh, and suddenly I have to like fill out the area, so it kind of makes more sense. Okay, so there we go. Now we got color. We've got our oh my goodness. Hopefully this stream's not just going to be like me fussing with different Photoshop layers and such things. Okay, there we go. We got our color, we got our layers. So basically what I need to do tonight, and I'm hoping to do during this stream, is basically consolidating all of these layers. You'll see there's like 50 layers from me penciling it, and the thumbnails and all that fun stuff. What I want to do is consolidate this to one flat layer. I need to remember that's just separated black, right, with like no white in it. So I've shown you guys how to do that before, but I'll walk you through it again. And also I have to do it, so why not? The other thing that I'm going to do that I hadn't done in the past is I'm going to and then the past few pages I've been doing this because it expedites the process. I'm only 10 pages in, right? So the process is going to get more refined. By the time we're 100 pages in, my process will be more refined and my sanity will be lost. But anyhow, the lines, like the border lines, I made the mistake on the first few pages of like consolidating all of the black to one single layer before laying out my basic flats. And what I need to do is actually keep the border layer here. I'll show you. I'll just turn off that layer. So keep the border layer separated so that basically I can make a really quick flat selection of color. So I'm mentally reminding myself to do that. And then Philip Chandler just said, I was just going to bed when I got the notification. I was just thinking earlier that I hadn't seen you in a while. Yeah, dude, it has been a while. It's good to see you though. And thanks and welcome. Yeah, I I can't explain why exactly it's taken me this long to get back to stream. I think it's mainly because I don't like penciling when I'm on stream, and I was in a good zone, so I knocked out pencils for 2 pages, and then once I did that, I got in this rut where I was listening to, I think I talked about it, but like watching those live high stakes poker games while I was flat coloring instead of live streaming, which is what I should have been doing. Anyhow, let's see here. Oh, and Philip, I know you wanted to talk on air. I know it's a shame there's like a difference. I'm guessing it's probably too late in the night for you to come on for like a live conversation, because I know you were wanting to like ask some questions live. If you're up for it, I can send you a link because tonight would work. But also, if that's too last minute, I think it's got to be like 2 a.m. where you're at. Then we can do a rain check for another day. So just let me know in the chats. But because I'm flatting, I actually totally can have conversations and have people on if they're available. So let's see. So anyhow, all of that being said, we're gonna get into this and we're gonna like start flat coloring this page. Yeah, Philip was saying it's a little late now. It's like 3 a.m. Yeah, so maybe we should aim for like a weekend or something. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping on weekend streams to be able to do kind of more afternoon, morning streams, just to touch base with my audience that aren't vampires. I had to start like super late tonight, and that was literally just exhaustion. Like today when I got home, I just had to nap for quite a bit. But hell or high water, I got to get this page flatted. So that being said, let's get into it. So here's what we're gonna do. Is first I'm gonna basically delete out all the invisible layers. So I'm going to kind of consolidate those away. I want to make sure that's visible to you guys. So now we've deleted those layers. Notice I'm not hitting save because we're going to save as a different file. This file is titled page 10 pencils. The next is going to be called page 10 final. but we're gonna. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and save that so I don't make the mistake of saving over. I don't know if you guys have ever had the heartbreak of being like, knee deep in a project and accidentally saving over an older iteration, and then being like, crap, I have to go back, and you don't have the older iteration. Not a fun place to be. All it takes is once. So I've learned. So okay, I'm gonna save this as a page 10 final, because that's where what I'm calling my color files, even though sometimes it's going to be like final 1, final 2, final 3. There's memes online about using the word final in your file title, because there, with art and illustration, especially when you're working with a publisher, there is no final. Quite often, like, there's going to be little edits or changes or things like that. Oh, speaking of, I think we had to do an edit of a previous page too. But it wasn't like a major edit, so you guys aren't missing out on much. Although, make sure you guys are following the stream so you can kind of see that, because once this book comes out, I think one of the fun things about being able to follow along during the process of building an entire graphic novel from a script is you guys will be able to see some of the things that changed from like script to from the rough stage, from the first iterations to the final. And so you'll have all the secret knowledge when the book comes out. Okay, so where were we? Oh, I also want to mention Jeff Lafferty is back to doing his art cast, which is really cool. So um, I I think sometimes our art casts overlap in time, but I of course am gonna say, like, watch the art casters, right? Like, tomorrow should be a really fun episode. It's on Scott's channel, and it should be interesting. It's a guest we've never had on before, who writes like super dark humor, and so I think the topic's going to be like dark humor, which is interesting because I do enjoy dark humor. It's weird. I tend to write these like very serious like autobio things, and have a little bit of humor laced throughout my work, but I don't go like full humor yet. I haven't in a script. And if I did, I think I'd go either like stupid dad humor, like um, there's a couple realms of humor I might go, um, or like dark humor, or like straight up absurdist, like Monty Python style humor. I love all those types, but I am very drawn to dark humor when it's done right. There's also a form of dark humor that's just like shock and awe kind of humor, and that's less interesting to me. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I'm not as familiar with our guest and their work and stuff, but make sure you guys are tune into Artcasters tomorrow or today if you're watching this after the stream, which is pretty likely since it's like midnight. All right, Philip. Yeah, definitely hit me up on Facebook. Maybe we'll do. I know there's like Mother's Day this weekend, but I'm gonna have to be working this weekend, so maybe I don't know. Maybe we can have a conversation on air on Mother's Day or something like that. Okay, so we're gonna consolidate the black liner. The worst part about this time of year is I get these mass allergies because of spring. And so if you're a person who has allergies and you live in the desert, around springtime can be like just absolutely terrifying to kind of experience. Okay, here we go. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is basically, I think these were separated somehow. Yeah, okay. So there was like a line, and then there's artwork underneath. Okay, those are going to get merged. That's like my okay. Perfect. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Actually, holy moly, did I use any white? Okay, the one thing I can check here is, because the cool thing is if I didn't use any white when I was setting up those pages, I think I did. We'll find out. Aha! See that? Okay. Easiest way to check if you have like solid blacks, or if you accidentally painted white. Okay, so that's not going to work. Okay, so what I do when you have rendered art like this, and you're trying to kind of separate it out and make it like solid black, solid white, all that fun stuff, is I'll go to like channels. Oh wait, I'll go to image mode, grayscale, and I'm going to make sure I don't merge my layers. Once I've gone to grayscale, then I'm going to go to my channels, make sure that I have like everything that's black and white or whatever on one channel. I'm going to go here to the bottom where there's little marching ants, and it's going to say load channel as selection. You click that, and you go back to your layers, make a new layer, turn off the visibility of the old one, and go to mode CMYK again, because you're doing the stuff. If you're making a book like I'm making, I'm not making this for the web, I'm making it for print, and I like to work direct in CMYK. There's a big controversy about that between designers who like doing art in RGB and art in CMYK. And I've heard compelling arguments for both. I am probably more on the CMYK front, because that's how I prefer to work. And I also like to get really accurate with my CMYK levels. Um, but I can understand the argument that a lot of people make for like working in RGB mode when you're coloring, because you get a more accurate kind of version, screen accurate version, because RGB is for screen. The only downside is then when you convert to CMYK, that can be problematic in the print process, and it gives you less control at the end, because it's not like when you do that conversion, suddenly the colors are going to automatically be in like, fives, which for me on my CMYKs, I like all my colors to have at least 5% difference. I find that that helps printers, because there's a little bit of color variation whenever you do offset printing. And I find that like if you put at least 5% variation in your cyan, magenta, yellow, and black layers, it tends to to translate well to print. And to people who aren't like print nerds, what I just said sounds like gibberish, but it's helpful. It's helpful for me. That's why I like to work in CMYK. But if you're digitally painting, I can understand, especially if you're making like a web comic or something like that, that like maybe the sole intention is for it to be on screen, or you're working with a printer that prefers to work from CMYK or from RGB colors and then do the conversion in house. There's a few printers like that that actually prefer the file to be in RGB, which is really strange, even though they're printing in CMYK, because they have their own like processes and stuff like that. So I'd always say defer to the printer, to your publisher, and then of course if you can work in CMYK, because that's the best choice, and any other choice is stupid. I'm kidding. They're both valid. I tend to be on that CMYK front. That's probably like the designer in me, the art director in me. Okay, so now we're going to we've loaded that selection. Now we've made a new layer. I've got my rich black pulled up, which I like to work in 50, 50, 50, 100. So now I'm filling that with my rich black. And I'm going to deselect. Then I'm going to turn on my borders again that I kept separate. Thank God that I remembered to do that. Okay. And now I'm going to delete that old layer, not copy it, delete it. Okay. So now we're in pretty good shape. So now I can save, and then we're going to basically start making our color layer. So there's a couple things. Like the nice thing is I've already flatted a page, so I've already set kind of some of the tones and colors. So a lot of this is just working reductively. I don't know if it's called working reductively. Like I just use that term because that's how I like to work, where it's like I'll make a selection and then I'm deselecting from the broader selection. So it's kind of like a process of elimination of color. Um, I find that that's one of the better ways to kind of do it. So I'll select all my areas. So now if I turn off the visibility of this, you're going to see these nice, wonderful selections marching around like marching ants. Um, oh my goodness. Okay. There's like a shortcut that for some reason like hits like a search bar or something. Mm. I have a bot on Twitter asking to buy viewers, followers, and primes. Interesting. Not on Twitter, on Twitch. Um, so the only downside of my Twitch account is I have like 3 followers on Twitch. Like my primary followers are on YouTube. And I still stream to Twitch because who knows, it doesn't hurt to have like cross-platform streaming. But I literally, I'm pretty unmodded in the Twitch area. And so, which I probably shouldn't say, but it's just like, um, so, so when it comes to kind of banning people or things like that, I tend to not do it on Twitch because there's just no need. I don't have enough followers for that to be a problem. So anyhow, welcome spam bot on Twitch. I always like to, as a meme, kind of read the spam bots because that seems to be a pretty common thing on Twitch. I'm surprised it's not as much of an issue on YouTube. Okay, so now I'm rambling about that. Okay, so we've made our selection. Now what I can do is, so I'm going to show you an issue with that. Like if I were to fill it right now, do you see that gap that's like white? That would be a problem. So what I do to get over that problem is I trap it. So modify expand, and I'm going to expand by like 2 pixels so that I don't know if you see that like the selection line. It's probably kind of hard to see on the screen, but now the selection line is like underlapping the line. So once I've done that, I'm going to now do my color fill. In this case, it's going to be white. That'll be the first color that we start with. And that's pretty darn good. The one thing I'm going to want to do is also color fill those those areas that are like the speech bubbles. So now I'm gonna label this layer colored. I'm gonna label this layer background. I'm gonna label this layer. This will be called lines or black. Okay. And then the borders and type is eventually going to get consolidated down. But before I do that, there's a few things. Actually, I think at this point we might be good to do that. To consolidate those down. Yes. Okay, let's do that. So now I can flatten my blacks to where they're one layer. Woohoo! Nice and simple. I've locked my transparent pixels. On this color layer, I'm going to lock it. But you'll notice there's some areas that I actually am going to want to color fill underneath that are white. And in the past few pages, I accidentally made the mistake. Again, I'm getting better at this particular style because usually when I do flat coloring, it's to like, I can use a lot more of the selection tools like the magic wand because I'm usually working in like solid black and white. But when you're working with anti-aliased lines, like you would with like a pencil, something like a tool that's going to have gradients within it, rather than just direct flats for your line art, then now you're in a scenario where your selection tools and your coloring process is going to be a little different than like coloring like a traditional comic. So all that basically is just to say that that I'm refining this process because it's a new process for me. It's a little different than the standard comic book coloring process, especially for flats. So anyhow, the first few pages I've made the mistake of, once I've made that selection, to go onto my color flat layer and then like consolidate and add these areas of where the text bubbles are, even though I've learned to kind of keep that um, line layer separate so I can make quicker selections. And now I've realized that actually a really smart idea is also to go ahead and do these selections too, and keep them on a separate layer. And this will make sense in a second. Because then I don't have to deselect those white areas of the text bubbles every time. So this should shave off like a good 10 or 15 minutes a page. Um, just doing it this different way than the way I was doing on the previous pages. And I think that that's like a good thing to kind of keep in mind as you're doing comics. And something I always keep in mind too is as you go, your process is going to get quicker and more refined, and you need to be open to kind of changing things up if it shaves off time. So I'm going to go ahead and fill those text areas. Now you'll see that there's no checkerboard behind it. It's solid. But the nice thing is now I can go back to my color layer. I can make a selection with continuous off and making sure anti-aliasing is off too. And then I can go to this layer, delete this out. Perfect. So what's cool is I'm going to eventually end up merging this with my flat layer, but now I don't have to select out these speech bubbles. I have a layer that's just those whites, which is very, very convenient. So now we're going to save, and we're going to get back into the coloring. And by the way, if you're watching along live or something and stuff I'm talking about doesn't make sense, feel free to ask questions, because I'm more than happy to, like, even when I'm explaining something like that, to me, it makes perfect sense because I work in Photoshop all the time. So I'm really familiar with it, and I use some verbiage that I've used for years, but I don't want to make that mistake of like, just because I'm familiar with something, I shouldn't make the assumption that everyone viewing it is understanding it. And so if there's anything I'm going over that you guys don't understand, um, definitely let me know. Okay. So right now I want to get all the white areas deselected. That's our goal here. So we have our lovely job that we've done of all those text bubbles. That's great. So now what else do we need to deselect? Okay. Robert's jacket. Oh, that's the annoying thing. I was trying to figure out what it is that that's the shortcut that keeps putting up like this stupid spotlight search on my and I don't know why Mac did this, but okay, so in Photoshop to like kind of zoom in and be able to like move back and forth like that, the shortcut is Command and the space bar. Apparently, if you hit that, that also is the shortcut for the spotlight search. How obnoxious is that? I need to disable that. I was trying to figure out what it is that's causing like spotlight search to pop up every time I hit that. But that's a really, like, the space bar for like the move tool and stuff. That's like one of my most used shortcuts. Okay, I'm rambling. Okay, so we need Elizabeth's eyes, her clothes, Robert's letter, his eyes, his shirt, and the maid's outfit, and then some of those things. So I'm going to deselect as many of those things as I can remember to do. Okay, so we're going to get in there with Elizabeth's. We'll start with Elizabeth's eye. I want this to be a reflecting light, so we're going to deselect that. I want this to be her eye, so we're going to deselect that. And as I'm deselecting, I'm holding Alt, right? So I have everything, sorry, not Alt, Option. So I have everything selected, and then Option basically takes your selection tool and subtracts from what you have chosen. So what we're doing is like cookie cutting out of our little shape and deselecting different flat areas. Oddly enough, this page may not take like super long. I'm going to try to stick to my heart out at 2 because I had a little bit of an extra nap today. I might allow myself to do 3 if worse comes to worse. But I'm hoping, and I'm going to aim to hopefully get these flats and the page colored by 2. And the nice thing is a lot of the hard selections and choices that we'd have to labor over have been done, right? Because we've already set the scene. We've already established on the previous page what the colors are going to be for this scene and for this sequence. And her teeth, I think, shall be white as well. And I might do a little trick here so we don't lose our selection. I kind of forgot to mention this at the top, but it is helpful. And I kind of haven't used this. Sometimes I'll just wing it and go through the entire page and deselect. But the downside is if you make one wrong selection, then you're kind of screwed. You have to like start all over again, which can be a real headache. So I'll show you guys a real quick trick that can kind of overcome that hurdle if you're working in this method. Okay, so we're doing the white collar. What else? What else, guys? Robert's eyeballs. Aha. There's a little bit of that white collar here too. Okay. So I think we have all the white on this page deselected. So what I'm going to do is probably pick a second color that would be good to kind of rule out, which might be like maybe Robert's hair color. So we're going to grab that hair color and I'm going to go ahead and fill this page with that. Oh my goodness, what the heck happened there? Okay. Just on the wrong layer. I was like, that didn't work out quite like, like it was supposed to. Okay, so now we have all the white in panel 1, so I'm just going to deselect that. Pretty cool. All right, now let's get to panel 2. I'm going to save. You're always saving as you're doing these processes. Let's get to panel 2. We're going to kind of get through all the white. So this is going to take a little bit longer because from what I recall, I think that window frame is white. Yep. Window frame, her costume. Okay, got it. So her hat is white. We're going to deselect that. Go through, just carve out all the areas. Now, keep in mind, if you have like open lines, black and white, dude, this is such a quick process because you can just magic wand these areas and then just expand out by like a pixel to be like trapped under your line and you're done. Like super quick. But in this case, not so quick. Okay. So she has this collar that's white as well. Whoa, my selection moved. Okay. I always want to keep an eye out for that too. Yeah, I don't know what's with the weather. I feel like my computer's not that old, but it's been like doing that fan noise a lot lately. So it makes me really glad that I'm backing up my files. Because yeah, I don't want a computer to die. The other weird thing about kind of getting older is like you'll feel like a computer is something you just bought like last year, and then you'll look and it's like 6 years old. You know, it's kind of shocking how that works out. But I'm pretty sure this thing should have a lot of life in it. Okay. But I will say, just with the weather lately and the heat, it's going to be working 10 times as hard as usual. Okay. So we're doing our skirt now. Kind of deselecting again, just selecting everything that's white. And one thing that's nice about flatting your own work is like if a colorist were just randomly looking at this, it's going to take them like 10 times as long because they aren't as familiar with like what your lines are or what you drew. Whereas you as the artist drew everything, so like even if there's like a little area that's more abstract, you're going to know zoomed in what area you're looking at the majority of the time. So your flat selections might work really well. Okay. So now we just need to flat out, let's get the window. Let's get that window deselected too. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and I might even go back in the line layer and make that line that's missing there. We'll see how bad it is to just have the flat color kind of make that line. Oh, and if you ever like chop into a selection area that you're not meaning to, you can just hold shift and add back to your old selection, which is what I'm doing here on her face. Okay. I also don't think I want this to carve into her shoulder because I think that's a black area. Let's see. Got it. Okay. There we go. We have that. Let's get into the other fun stuff here. So I'm gonna look at that picture on the wall. Was there anything that's white on that picture? I might need to pull up a previous one too if it had more detail in that picture. Let's see. Page 8 go into that at all? I feel like page 8 wasn't in the room. It might have been though. Aha. Okay, so page 8 might be worth opening as well. Let's open up page 8. Do. So page 8. Yay. Okay, page 8 is going to give us other color selections to work from too. So you'll notice that like page 8, I didn't do the thing that you're going to see on page 9. Page 9 has that extra step of the white for like light areas. You're going to notice that that's just like a very subtle. Whoa, what the heck happened there? I feel like the light areas got really messed up, like moved by accident. There we go. Okay, they did. So the nice thing is you just never save on old finish files. Okay, so let's take a look again. So this is page 9 and then page 8, which again, I'm mainly looking to see, hey, is there any areas of white here? No, there aren't. Okay, that's good to know. Got it. Okay, so it's mainly just the frame, and then this is going to be Robert's eye is the next area of white that we're going to deselect. And then we're going to deselect this collar here. And we're making good progress, guys. It's very slow and steady and methodical, but flatting is not like rocket science. It's fairly easy to do, especially once you have all that template laid out. So here again, just so I don't lose my selection, I'm going to go ahead and if I did this right, all the areas that are white should be kind of popping up. Yay. Okay. Let's keep going, guys. Now I know people who will like paint flat color underneath, and I feel like that can be really. I mean, it's a possible way of doing it, but that's not how I would do it. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to these. I'm gonna deselect the previous two panels. We're working on whites. All right. And I'm definitely feeling myself needing some coffee, so I'm guessing internally, I think I probably have about another 10 minutes till we do our little break. Um, for those of you who might be tuning into the stream or watching it after the fact, I tend to take a little 20, 30-second break, maybe a minute break on the hour most of the time. Let's see if we have, okay, great. Okay, so I know that the books, I'm going to deselect any areas of white that might be on the books that I can kind of pre-plan. Some of that I might do after the fact. Because I do find that like when it comes to coloring these books, uh, sometimes it's going to be a lot more helpful to kind of do some of that on the back end. I do know that I think the clock behind him, yes, is white in that circular area. Let's see if we can deselect under there. Woohoo! Okay, that was good. I just sounded like an owl. Okay. I also am probably going to have to rework the line art a little bit because I'm just noticing that the one thing that I hadn't finished yesterday was the pattern that is on her blanket. So it's little details like that that like again like it's helpful to when you're coloring your own work it's you can kind of fix things, and actually working digitally it's an advantage too, or if there's something like a pattern that you overlooked that you need to add to your line art, it's not super hard to do. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Not super hard to go in and kind of rework. All right. Oh my gosh, my computer is very laggy today. Okay. Here we go. We're going to do this whole hat is going to be white. Get in there and kind of select it out. Oh, my goodness. I just started selecting her hair, which is not white. That's why working in the wee hours of the night after a long shift at work, you really have to like be doing something to keep your brain engaged. Like for me, live streaming is really good for that. It's a good reminder for me to like talk myself through the process. And as a person who like I tend to process thoughts out loud, I don't know. Like, here's a question for anybody watching this after the fact, or maybe watching right now. Do you guys ever find that, like, I don't know, I think there are different types of thinkers. And I don't think I'm saying anything like super profound here, but it's like, I do think there's some people who like, and I'm kind of envious of this, have the ability to process like a really complicated idea in their head in silence. Like, and actually, they might even do better at thinking in like silent situations. Um, and quite often are thinking quite a lot internally about issues or thoughts like that, uh, or art problems or whatever it is. And then kind of working those out like after the fact, like maybe processing that as something communicated. Um, I am always really jealous of that because I am a person who, like, especially if there's something I'm trying to kind of figure out, I verbally need to work out a lot of my internal ideas. Like, even when I'm writing, like when I've written a script or something like that for a comic, I feel like, especially like if I'm writing like a conversation sequence, I learn a lot just from the process of like reading it out loud, hearing it. I don't know if it's like a unique to me thing or if there's other people out there who like, I think this is a common thing. Like, I think there are some people who just think and process like better, like problem solve better when something is verbally communicated. But I totally know people who are like the opposite, where it's like it's easier for them to process and kind of come up with things without verbally communicating it. And then their struggle is more like, how do I verbally communicate this idea that I already worked out in my head? It's an interesting thing, but I feel like there is like a dichotomy between people who think that way or don't. So for me, like even the process of doing this, um, it's not like if I weren't streaming, I don't know how much I'd be speaking out loud what I'm doing, but it's like it actually helps me pay a little more attention to what I'm doing by speaking about it, which is kind of a weird thing, and I wonder if that's a common thing or just a strange thing. Okay, her dress is going to be deselected in this, and her eyeballs, right? Oh, the other thing was the fireplace. I don't think the fireplace was white. Well, let's see. Did I show the fireplace on this? No, it was on panel 9. Okay, the fireplace is darker. Okay, cool. Okay, we're still there, guys. We're still in the zone here. Okay, we're gonna deselect the whites of her eyes, and then her nightgown is another thing being deselected here. And I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy because like once this is flatted, if we can do that by, I'm still going to consider today Wednesday, even though it's Thursday. But if we can do this and then another page, I think, or two over the weekend, I think we'll be in good shape. I think what I'd like to accomplish maybe this weekend would be like thumbnailing and roughing maybe 2 pages. So by midweek, maybe a little more than that. But I'd like to at least tonight, later tonight, when I do another stream during Artcasters, I might be focusing on roughs while we do it. Maybe stream after. Who knows? Okay. So I'm trying to figure out with this what was hair and what was like gown. That's an interesting thing to try to kind of parse through. I think this is hair, and I think this is gown. This little section. Okay. So we have our gown deselected. Oh, no idea. That doesn't seem right. Okay. I mistook that shadow as hair, and it's not. It's not a hair shadow. It's a straight up shadow. Boom. So good to know because now we've got that deselected. Okay, there's like one other area I want to check on this particular panel. It's going to be Robert, which I think it's his eyes, his shirt. And then I'm wondering if there's anything on that dinner plate. Nope, dinner plate has no white in it. Let's double check. Oh, the dinner plate does have white if we're showing the plate. Are we showing the plate? Yes, we are. Haha. Okay, let's deselect that area. The plate is white. So we're going to deselect that plate. And then we'll get into Robert. See Robert's eyeballs. Deselect some eyeballs. And making good time, guys. I'm trying to think of like what it's called. I think it's called the exponential growth. When something starts small and kind of gradually like speeds up, accelerates, like the more you kind of continually carve at it. I'm pretty sure that I don't know. Now I'm going to feel bad if that's not what exponential growth is, but my computer's kind of freaking out temporarily. Let's see if it continues. Yep. It is now not communicating with my Wacom tablet for some reason. So what we're going to do is close off this selection. Oh man, let's see if that causes it to communicate. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest of this with a mouse. If there is a rest of this, because I think that was all the white. It was. Okay, perfect. Because what we'll do is we'll go ahead and restart oh my gosh. So I'm going to have to quit out of the this, but I'm glad to have been able to finish that selection area. So I'm going to have to close out this file, which might actually work out. And that might kind of solve some of our issues here. So let's find that out. Let's see if that solves it. That is so weird that the Wacom, I don't know why, like I need to maybe check my driver updates eventually, but it's like my Wacom tablet just has not been communicating with my computer every once in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and quit out of Photoshop, and let's see if that solves this kind of lagging nonsense going on. So you guys probably aren't going to see that on screen, that kind of particular occurrence, but let's find out if that solved the issue. And I'm going to open all of these final files. And now we'll see if our Wacom is communicating again. Okay, Wacom tablet. Oh man, my tablet's not communicating. That's just lovely. Okay, I'm going to unplug and plug in the tablet. We'll see if that solves it. Otherwise, man, that's terrible because I might have to just restart my stream. Okay. Let's see what is going on with the Wacom here. Is it even communicating? Whew. That's obnoxious. Very strange. Okay. Let me see if I can fix this Wacom issue without having to restart my stream entirely. Oh my gosh. I think my computer is struggling to do a lot of these things. Wacom Desktop Center is not responding, so I'm going to force quit it, and we'll see if that helps. That's craziness. See if we can, let's quit out at Illustrator and see if that helps. Okay, I'm going to try to reopen that Wacom Center and see if that solves the issue, you know? Otherwise, I think it's very irritating. When you have like technical issues, like for me, that's probably the most frustrating thing. When you have like a technical issue sort of get in the way, when things should be otherwise working rather smoothly. Okay, I'm going to open my application and see if I can get the Wacom to communicate again. And we'll see if that solves the issue. Hey, look at that. It is communicating. So far, it seems. But it is pinwheeling. I know this is exciting content for you guys. This is really strange. What is going on with the pinwheeling here? What is going on? What is going on, Wacom tablet? Well, you guys, I usually would use this time to kind of oh, aha, yes. Look at this. The Wacom is working now. Okay. I was about to say, like, I might have to start another stream and kind of restart the computer, but the Wacom just magically, in that beautiful way that art and things work out, just did work. So we're going to basically take our, so that I don't get frustrated with Wacom issues and computer lagging and all the typical stuff that happens with art. I'm going to go ahead and take, and we're at the hour mark. So I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for my upcoming graphic novel, Jacob's Apartment, while I get a refill of coffee. And then we're going to hit this page harder than we've ever hit anything in our lives. So I appreciate you guys who are tuning in, and bear with me while I get this playing for you. Here we go. Okay. Enjoy this trailer. Order the book. It comes out on June 7th. If you can, pre-order it on Amazon. And here is the trailer. Let's try that again. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams for me. All right, so I'm gonna see if this works, man. I'm experiencing some major lags on my Photoshop, so again, like I might have to restart and do another stream. How frustrating is that? We only got an hour in. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if this lag issue starts kind of solving itself, or if we're literally going to have to just reboot our computer and come back. I'm going to give this a shot. Well, yeah, because I can't, like, my Photoshop is at this point not even usable, which is a little problematic. Like, let's see if that solves. Is there anything else I can quit out of? Let's see. We do have a lot of windows open, so I can kind of close out those too. I have a bunch of open. Oh my gosh. My computer is like unhappy, guys. It's a very unhappy computer. So I'm going to close out of those extra windows, and maybe that'll save a little bit of processing going on. And if not, we might have to just do laggy computer stuff here. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to do. And I can't, I got to restart my computer. Well, there's going to be probably another live stream then in that case. Oh my gosh. Okay. How embarrassing. Wait. Okay. Maybe we can bear with it. I really hate like bumping people to other streams, because if you guys took the time to kind of come to this one, it's just kind of a shame for us to have to kind of go to other streams. But also, if like my processing power is toast, then I need to kind of give my computer a brief reset, kind of make that happen. Okay, here we go. That could make for an interesting live stream if my computer literally just died in the process. Okay, but I think it's very realistic. Like that's what we deal with as artists. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect more of the white areas, and we'll see if we can get through a page. I think we can. I'm also curious, if you're watching this after the fact, your thoughts on the trailers. I'd like to have more time to do more. I reached out to another media outlet, and I think I'm going to be a guest on Comic Book Club in July, which I'm kind of excited about. But we'll see where the other press stuff. Like, honestly, that's the one thing I need to be a little more active on, and it's always a hard struggle to kind of, like, I have a book coming out, next month, and I need to promote the heck out of it, but I also need to like do these pages every waking minute, and it's going to be this seesaw. And one thing that I think I touched on the last stream, where I was a little sleepy, but I was super in this like great, just positive space. And I've maintained that for like the last few days. I feel like there's a peace with the process that I'm coming to. Not that it's becoming easier. It's just that like I'm starting to get at peace with some of the struggles of making comics and promoting comics. Like, even in the case of sending out like press info and stuff like that, it's like inevitably I'm not going to be able to do as much promotion as I would like for my book, because I'm making another book. I mean, that's just the nature. I'm making 2 other books actually, because once this is done, I have to go directly into 2 Stories book 2. So as a creator, I think like that's inevitably going to be something you juggle, and you just kind of have to accept and take ownership of. And like, I guess what I'm getting at is that used to stress me out, that sort of duality of like promotion versus art creation. And I've kind of come to terms with the fact that like I need to make the best effort I can. And then beyond that, there's really not much I can do. Like, I'm not going to be able to be perfect at it. I think the important part is trying and trying to kind of build habits and move positively forward. Okay. There we go. Man, anytime I'm like picking selection tools though, it starts getting laggy. So we're deselecting all the areas of white in each image and also seeing a massive lag whenever I turn on the visibility of a layer. So we'll see how long this kind of goes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so again, we're going to pick all the white areas of this. I'm going to save too because I don't want to have like this crash like midway through the process. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Okay. I'm going to get through the window here, window frame. And I think that what we're going to do for this stream, because I am sensing the computer is getting kind of wacky right now. I think my computer needs a rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the white selections, I think on this panel, and then I will potentially start another stream if I can get through this panel. Yeah, like this is frustrating. I don't even think I'm going to get through. Well, let's give it a shot. I may not even get through this panel entirely, so we'll see how that goes. Oh man. When your computer needs rest, it's like it lets you know. Cuz here's the thing, like even though I've been working off stream a lot, I have been putting this thing to a lot of work lately. So it might just be that it needs to cycle through, restart, kind of clear the cache. But I'm seeing how far I can get here. I'm kind of surprised because we're just using selection tools too. So like that's kind of to be expected when you're working on other things like when you're working on okay. When you are working on like with brushes and stuff, it makes sense if there's a bit of a lag because brushes take up a lot of processing power. But it's like when I'm doing something like just selections with not like a ton of files open or anything like that, it is a little surprising that it would like be having this many lag issues, which you guys probably aren't even seeing on your end. But it's like I definitely I know you guys know the feeling of like when you're working on art and then like there's like a gap in time between when you make an action and when it appears on the screen, there's like this mild few second delay that's occurring that's like gonna be a problem. I can tell, and it's not kind of resolving itself. So I think I might just finish this made panel and kind of see if we can get that far and then see where we go from there. But we're still deselecting all the white areas. The reason I usually start with white actually is because generally that's going to be a lot of like small details that are all over the place on your art. And so like if you can pick something like that that's a color that's going to be frequently used throughout, that you're kind of selecting out from, it makes the rest, it's kind of like eating your vegetables at first. It makes like the rest of the meal a little bit more like dessert, because again, like, this process, it seems like it takes forever at the beginning, and then as you go, it goes quicker and quicker because you have less and less surface area to kind of cover, which is pretty cool. It's less fulfilling than just kind of flatting each panel one at a time, because I think that when you flat like an entire panel one at a time, it feels like you're making more progress. But for me, I've found that this is a faster process. It's just less fulfilling because you start seeing gradual gains. It's kind of like doing hand done type, where there's this point when you're doing hand done lettering where things just start looking like chaotic lines, like especially when you're inking lettering, where it's like if you do all the parallel lines going vertically, it looks a little weird because it's missing all the horizontal stuff, all the curves. So it kind of starts as this abstraction and then starts kind of moving from there to like a completed image. I think we might actually make it, guys, at least with the whites on this page. I want to get done with that part at least. If we do have to restart, I'd like that to be the minimum. I still haven't seen the season finale for Moon Knight. That's something I would also like to do. That's the one allowance I've given myself. Like, I'm not really allowed to do much outside of just working on this comic, but I have kind of allowed myself to watch episodes of Moon Knight here and there. I kind of sneak them in. So it'll take me like a week longer than most people who are following the show, but eventually I'll catch up. So far, I've been really enjoying that series. I do a lot of historical fiction and stuff like that, but I do love comics and I love superhero stories every once in a while, and it's kind of a fun show. Although it's funny to me when people call it like super dark thematically, because I'm like, man, if Netflix nails, if they manage to get the Sandman right, people will be introduced to darkness on a level. I reread a lot of. I used to read the Sandman. It's one of the comic series that got me into indie comics and like slice of life comics. Was like, you know, the Sandman, and I think I initially got into the Sandman because of, I think it was like Sam Keith doing the Sandman, and I loved Sam Keith's art, and it was just interesting, like following this storyline that had very little to do with like superhero stories, even though it's very fantastical and it is kind of a superhero story, but it's more of like a mythological high fantasy world. It's it's Neil Gaiman. It's got that very Neil Gaiman-y vibe. But anyhow, I reread that recently. Reread a bunch of the Sandman, and I had forgotten about how horrific some of the parts of the Sandman are. Like, it runs all sorts of genres, but like there is a level of horror in one particular storyline that becomes, it's just insane. And it'll be fascinating to see if they're able to pull that off. Like, you know, in live action, it might be a little rough. But it also cracks me up because there's people who are like, "Oh man, like Moon Knight's really dark," and I'm like, "Oh man, you guys have no idea. If you haven't gotten through the cafe sequence in the Sandman, you don't know darkness in comics." Okay. However, if they botch it and they don't get it right, then it may not be quite as effectively horrific. Hey, like our flatting is coming along here. I just hope it doesn't freeze once we have all those selections made. So right now, again, I'm going through, I'm deselecting everything that is white on the page. Not the most fancy, exciting stuff. Very important. And when you're doing flat selections, it may not look like it, but it's like I'm trying to be very meticulous and not have it like be overlapping the lines. So where you're trying to get, you know, you're trying to get like where you have like your selection trapped just a little bit like right in the middle of the line. That's going to create like a much more fluid color. I think sometimes people will, when they color their comics, there's definitely that thing where you can note like really amateur coloring in a comic when you see like this kind of like white band around all the color. And hopefully we're all kind of beyond that, but it's always good to make sure your flats, at least your flats, when they're solid flats, should definitely be aliased. Even if it's on anti-aliased art, unless maybe you're painting under your. But even then, if you're digitally painting, it won't hurt to have like solid aliased flats and then build out from there and kind of get more and more painterly, rather than the reverse where you're trying to get from painterly to like more solid flat shapes because um yeah, it's there's a million reasons. I don't know if I need to get into all of them. Okay. Did I get his face? Yep. Shirt? Yep. Cool. I think we have gotten rid of all the white areas on this page. In theory. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sweet. Okay, so now I'm going to do Robert's hair if we have time. Or maybe we'll do eyeballs. Should we do eyeballs first? Do Robert's eyeballs. Oh, and then I'm forgetting if Robert and Elizabeth's eyes are any different color. So we'll have to look at that too. 68 and yeah, they're very subtly different. So, okay, we're going to start with Robert's eyeballs. Not the whites of his eyes, the interior part. Come on. And then I'm going to deselect those areas. Just starting with all the little small detail areas. Come on. some of these areas, it may not even make a lot of sense, but it's like I still think it's good to have the on line art like this that isn't solid black and white. You want to back your blacks with like the color that they're supposed to represent. All right, there we go. Robert's eyeballs. Gonna get there, guys. Good old Robert and his eyeballs. Okay, there we go. And same thing here. Okay. Now we have Robert's eyeballs. Now we're gonna have. Let's get everybody's eyeballs. Let's get Elizabeth's eyeballs now. Do 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 do. It's going to be very subtly different color. I'll also save. Okay. So now we're going to get rid of Elizabeth's eyeballs. So, as an artist, though, I will say you always want to have like a computer that's preferably faster than you. But if you get in a space where you're working faster than your computer, that's actually a pretty good place to be. I mean, it's a better problem to have being faster than your computer than being slower. Which is funny because I'm not that quick of an artist, but I'm trying to turn a negative into a positive here, guys. Okay. So we've got eyeballs there. Let's see what else we want. I want to do the maid's color fills. Pretty sure there's a page that has somewhat of the maid's face. I'm not sure if we ever got her eyeball color, so did we ever specify the maid's eyes, her eye color? No, I don't think so. These are my old flats. Yeah, I don't think we ever got into the maid's eye color. That's good. Really don't. Okay. Yep. No eye color for the maid yet. So let's pick the maid's eye color here if we're going to see it. Come on. Okay. Oh man, my computer is so laggy. I'm trying to do the hue saturation tool, which should be really quick, and it is not happy about it. Okay, guys. Okay. So what I'm going to do instead is we're going to restart. That's a shame. My computer's just lagging. I was trying to power through it and get as much of the page done as I could, but we have to restart. So preferably I'd like to do another stream. It might be a short stream, but if you're still around, I'm going to kind of restart. If you watch this after the fact, just know that that's where we're at on colors. We have like Robert's eyes, Elizabeth's eyes, and then the white area is kind of done. And then everything in magenta is left to do. And I think it'll go a lot quicker if we just restart the computer entirely. So I'll probably be back online in about 10 to 15 minutes as everything cycles through. If you guys are able to, obviously subscribe, hit the bell, make sure you get yourself a copy of Two Stories, my graphic novel, as well as Jacob's Apartment from Graphic Mundi. And I will try to hop on to a second stream after this just to kind of do that. But I'm gonna go ahead and restart, let my computer kind of sort out whatever weird crap is happening, because there's definitely like it's just like an unworkable lag that's happening. Where like I went to the hue saturation sliders and I'm sliding the hue and like it literally couldn't even process that. So I think it needs to reboot. All right. So yeah, I'll save that, and I appreciate you guys who did show up, and I will see you guys on the next stream, which hopefully I'll be able to get set up. If not, though, have a good night, and I'll see you guys on the next stream. Bye.